All right, guys, so here's what we're going to do. I need you paying attention. I am actually recording this, so I have a mic on that's hearing me. And so first thing we have to do is we have to create a layer mask. Now, there's a couple different ways you can do this. I've tried a few of them. Honestly, the easiest one for this is the magnet tool, because with the contrast, it picks up just fine. So what I would do is go over to your lasso, right-click, and get the magnetic lasso tool. Kind of start at his collar and just draw around. Now, there are going to be some points where you're going to have to make sure you tell it to click onto the place you want it, because it'll try and wander off a little bit. Here is kind of where it can do that a bit, and the other arm, it might do that a bit. And now here's the thing. We're pulling in up to his arm, and that's kind of okay because we're going to replace this color anyway. And since it's an overlay, it won't really matter that the colors are different. You're just giving it an area to color in. See, and I made it wonky. Okay, so you'll notice that mine is not perfect, but it's close enough. So now there's a little folder button in the corner, and we're going to click on that, and that'll create a group. The reason we want to create a group is because that's where our mask is actually going to end up. So we haven't created a mask, we just have a selection. But from that selection, we're going to create a mask, and that mask is going to basically tell the computer, this is where I want my overlay or adjustment layer to affect. There's a little folder in the bottom right-hand corner. So if you look at my screen up here, this is where my mouse is. That's where you're going. And it'll just create a thing that says Group 1 above your layer. So group 1 for right now. You're just creating a group right now. So now we'll go to the next step in just a second. So now that we've created a group, we have to create a mask. You want group 1 selected. And then there's a button down here that's like a square or a rectangle with a circle in it. That's Add Layer Mask. So if you click that now, you'll see a little black box with a white t-shirt in it. And what that means is just now that group has that mask over it. So anything that you put in that group will be affecting that mask. Does that make sense so far? So now all we have to do is put in our adjustment layers. We're going to use 2 for today. We're going to use color and brightness. And we'll talk about why as we go through them. So next to that little, the mask layer is an adjustment layer button. You click on that, it's going to give you a bunch of selections. The one we want is solid color. It's the very top. So when you click on that, it's going to bring up this. Now notice there's an overlay, and like mine isn't perfect. I know it's not perfect, but for the sake of our tutorial, I'm okay with that for right now. So I don't want black, right? So we want a red, a blue, a gray. You can pick which one you want. I'm going to go with red. Kind of go a little deeper red here, and I'm going to hit OK. Now, there's a problem, though. What's the problem? It doesn't look realistic. It looks like I drew on it, right? So what we can do is work on what's called a blending mode. And blending mode is literally what it means. I'm blending 2 pictures together, and how much one sees through the other will change things. So if I go up above all of this into where it says normal and click on it, now I have a ton of blending modes, and if you just move your mouse up and down, you'll see things change. But we're going to blend at color. Oh man, don't do this. See, I thought this was going to be a problem. Hold on 1 second. Let's actually go to multiply, because the color one is not doing what we want it to do today. So let's go to multiply. So all this has really done is it's let us see through that color a little bit. And why that helps us is because it makes it, we as people know that there are supposed to be contours to the shirt, right? So now what do you see through the shirt? You see all the wrinkles, everything else. So the other thing you can do here is the last thing we're going to do is we're going to add one more adjustment layer. We're going to click on it, and we're going to go to brightness and contrast. So what you can do is double click on it. On the little like sun icon. So you're going to add a second adjustment layer called brightness and contrast. So it's the same button you hit before. But now what we can do is we can start playing with how bright or dark, how much contrast there is and how much brightness there is. And so we can kind of start seeing through it a little more. And you can play with all of these, even if you do a color fill or you do anything like that, you can kind of start playing with those settings. And so I might come in and go like, hey, I don't love this, I need it a little bit brighter. And what I might even do is go to my, my layer mask, my color fill, and I'm going to kind of drop its opacity a little bit. Or I can go in and I can go to the fill itself and drop it a little bit. And see how now, like, I've kind of lost a little bit over on the right, but in general, this looks like that dude was wearing a red shirt. And we can play with all of these settings. So like, we could even go into color, anything we really wanted to. You can even just hit auto and see what it does. Like, say, I don't love that, so I'm going to drop it down a little bit. Give it a little more contrast, but drop its brightness a little bit. So now that you've done this part, and you guys can play with those settings until you're happy, what I want you guys to do, and we could even go like, I'll go one step farther while we're here. We could jump in, so we could also bring in hue and saturation. And so now if I'm doing that, see how much I can actually just move through the colors. So I don't even have to pick a solid, I can just start playing with what color I want, and then just how saturated or desaturated it becomes. So you see how like this is just Instagram filters, but with control. Cool? So here's what I want you guys to do. You can either go to Canva or Adobe Express, and they actually have logo designers. The logo you're going to design is for our new swag catalog thing, right? So you want to make a logo for our new store.